I believe so.
So we don't have yet the other position filled for executive committee, right? That's something that'll be done hopefully next week.
That is correct.
Got it.
Can y'all see the agenda?
Yes, I can. Nicely
Okay,
done.
because it's not coming up on my team, so I couldn't tell.
Yeah, no, we got it.
Okay.
Morning, Anna.
I think she's on the phone with Sam.
Ah, okay.
I'm gonna go close my door so it doesn't echo. I think Sam just called in, so.
You having technical difficulties?
I'm guessing so.
Yeah, we'll certainly wait for him. Hey, Morris, did the council appoint someone to the Tourism Commission at the last meeting or meeting before? I know they did for the Parks Commission, so we're full there. Did they fill Jim's spot? I don't think so.
I don't think I remember Park Commission. I don't remember on tourism. I can't recall. I have to go back and look.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. So we have one spot on the general board or the general commission, and we have one executive spot open.
Correct.
And that spot is the secretary position. Is that what that is? Yeah.
You know, Eric, I'm looking at the list of attendees for the meeting, and Sam's not even showing up. So usually it'll show folks who are joined and then folks that are waiting, but he's not even listed. So
well, it says others invited. Sam Richey,
yeah,
guest at the very bottom. It says others invited.
That just means he's not on yet.
Oh, there you are. Okay,
there he is.
You just
there you okay.
I think we're good now.
You're so welcome. Okay, you're welcome. Bye.
Good job, Anna. Morning, Sam. Well, his dot is there. We're making progress. Sam, if you can hear us, we cannot hear you.
Might help to unmute myself.
Wow, that would.
Okay. I apologize. Everyone. I never saw the invitation link. I must have missed it somewhere. So Anna was very helpful to me just now, getting me connected. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely. So if you're ready, Sam, we need to cue City 7. So are you ready to start?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, sir. Let's go ahead and start the meeting then, please, on live stream.
Okay, well, good morning, everyone. I'm Sam Richey, Chair of the Tourism Commission, City of Independence, and welcome you all to our Tourism Commission executive meeting. And I will call the meeting to order with a roll call, which I assume is just, well, Chris and me, right?
That's correct.
I'm here.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Okay, the first item of business this morning is Tourism Commission membership. We have a vacancy in the at-large position, since Jim Allen resigned. And I had been in some discussions with Christy about a replacement. And is there any update on that, Christy?
I gave the individual the application, and I'm just waiting for it to be completed to submit it to the city clerk.
Okay, terrific. And that candidate has expressed interest. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, well, that's wonderful. So what's the time frame on that then? We're just kind of waiting,
Yes, to get that back. Correct.
Okay, that's great. Well, if you need me to follow up with that candidate, I'd be happy to do so. Whenever, not to rush her or anything, but if you'd like me to, I'd be glad to do that.
I will send you her email.
Okay, super. Thanks, Christy.
Sure.
I think that's all on the Tourism Commission membership. Am I right about that?
One other item.
Okay, sure.
The commission needs to elect, appoint, assign someone to the executive committee to serve as secretary.
Okay, great. All right. Is that something we should bring up next week in terms of just seeing, if anyone on the board is interested in doing that, or?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'd be glad to do that.
Do we have anybody that has shown interest?
Well, not to my knowledge, but does anyone know?
Not to my knowledge either.
Okay.
Well, perhaps Anna, as a follow-up and a reminder to the board, the commissioners about the upcoming meeting, you might even put that in the notes that there is a vacancy on the executive committee for the position of secretary, and any interested parties should contact Sam. Is that okay, Sam?
Absolutely. That'd be great. Okay. Well, that sounds good. All right. Well, we'll do that next week, and that sounds great. And I think that's all we have on that subject. So moving on to reports and comments. Eric, do you have a budget update?
Yeah, we do. Morris, I know we spoke this morning, but let's go ahead and just bring up the budget sheet, and then I'll just touch upon the reasons for the changes since the well, you know what, the full commission is going to have to see that, so maybe we should show the proposal in general as well, I guess. I'm trying to figure out how to really do this, but so yeah,
show
so
the proposal first.
I'm sorry?
Show the proposal first.
Yeah, I guess so. Okay. So, this is being live streamed, but this is still very much in concept. It's a proposal that is making its way through, but the first step really is to vet this through the Tourism Commission. So I guess it's appropriate, obviously, that we show you all first. So we have been working as a staff over the last month to take a look at some of the things we might need to do to adjust to the decrease in transient guest tax. So essentially a budget reduction for this fiscal year, and then the corresponding actions that it's going to take to get us hopefully at a zero balance budget by fiscal year's end. So we have put together a proposal that we have sent to the city manager's office. The city manager has blessed it in concept, and now it's time to run it through and vet it through both the Tourism Commission and the Parks Commission, since the proposal affects both the transient guest tax as well as the Parks and Recreation sales tax. Then once it gets through that process, Zach wants to share it with the Audit and Finance Committee, since there is a budget appropriations that is required to move money from the transient guest tax, or move a function from the transient guest tax over to the Parks and Recreation sales tax. So because there is a transfer of expenses from one fund to another, that will require council action. So he wants to vet that through Audit and Finance before it goes to council. So there are a lot of different steps here that are required to try to get our expenses in line with the decreased revenue. So with that in mind, Morris, go ahead and show the proposal, if you will, and we'll walk Sam and Chris through this.
Can you see my screen? Can you see this?
Cannot. No, we cannot.
Really? Huh, it's highlighted like.
Christy, can you unshare? Maybe we can only share one thing.
I'm not sharing right now.
All right, so
So what Morris was just showing was about the sites, that proposal.
yeah,
So
right.
You have to just go back and forth.
There we go. Okay, well, go ahead and go up, Morris, a little bit. There you go. Okay. Nope, other way. All right, thank you. Okay, so basically, I already set the stage. We are, as you know, we're closed at all the historic sites, have been all summer, and that was the immediate response to the pandemic, reduction in transient guest tax. If you'll recall, we were at the end of the fiscal year. Looks like we were trending at 57% down. We have been tracking that ever since. And currently it looks like we're more like 32% down. So we have had some recovery, and that is just great news for sure. I haven't had a chance to study the last STR report that just came out. Christy might touch on that a little bit today, but we just got that yesterday. So I don't know that we have a lot of information. We haven't analyzed that too deeply, but it looks like the trend is continuing in the positive direction. So with that 32% projection, that is basically from the fiscal year beginning July 1 through the end of last month. We look like we are going to be bringing in about 1.3 million. So typically we bring in 1.9. So it looks like hopefully we're bringing in roughly 1.3. So that's a vast improvement over the 900,000 that you saw at the last meeting. So that's good news, but that's still quite a reduction that we have to come up with. So we need to try to get down to that 1.3-ish million. So what we're doing here is we're proposing some things, some actions to take place, and then we will revisit this again at the 6-month point, so that we have 6 months worth of data and transient guest tax receipts to look at, analyze that, apply that trend to the revenue, and then see if any further adjustments are made or need to be made. So from an expense standpoint, here's what we've done to try to reduce to get down to that 1.3. Tourism administration, actually that number is up from what the original adopted budget was, because when the finance department made their adjustments for all of the personnel and put in benefits and things of that nature, unfortunately there was a calculation error, so that's been adjusted for. So really in the 6061 Tourism Administration, which is where a lot of the contracts are set, where staff salaries for administration are all at. That one held pretty steady. That one did not see a decrease. The National Frontier Trails Museum has been reduced down to 134,589, and that is showing just one salaried position and the museum being closed for the entire fiscal year. So not reopening until next fiscal year, which is summer of next fiscal year, if certain things are lined up, and we'll cover that here in a minute. So that's showing the National Frontier Trails Museum closed for the entire year. Historic sites, this is 6063. This is where all of the maintenance for all the historic sites and day-to-day landscaping and things of that nature are budgeted for. We are taking that entire cost center and shifting that over to park sales tax for 1 year. We can barely afford to do that in park sales tax, but we're going to. Essentially, the outdoor grounds are park sites, as it falls under Parks, Recreation, and Tourism. So legally, that fits within the the adopted language that says what the park and recreation sales tax can be used for. So it's appropriate, but it's temporary. It's not something that we're going to be looking to do long term. The out years are negatively impacted for the sales tax, parks and recreation sales tax, if we would continue that operation. So that's why I said we need to run this through the Park Commission as well, because that has a impact on the Parks and Recreation sales tax to the tune of about $250,000 or so. Tourism sales and services has also been reduced, and I think later here in the memo it spells out specifically what that is, but we made some cuts there as well to bring that number down to 1.351 million in expenses. So that's a total reduction of $547,000. So that still puts us presently trending to the negative by $57,000. So we're gonna hold it there. We're gonna let that run until, like I said before, the 6-month point into the fiscal year. So in January, we'll be reassessing. And if the trend in transient guest tax receipts is still holding at that negative 32% or worse, then we'll have to make some further adjustments to recoup that $57,000 over the course of that last 6 months. So in the numbers, that's what we're looking to do. So before we open for questions, let's go down a little bit of detail. Okay, so essentially, museum operations, that's what we talked about with the museum being closed through June 30th, 2020. We are presently investigating, having discussions with some third-party operators to potentially operate the museum. The goal here would be to have that operated by contract, by third party, just as we are doing with the other historic sites. So eventually, all of the historic sites would be operated under this concept by a third party. And then the position, at least as we've planned it for now, that is associated with the museum, becomes a contract administrator essentially over all of the historic sites. So checking on all the deliverables, making sure that all the building maintenance and things of that nature needs are being relayed to park maintenance to be addressed, etc. So typical contract administrator type of role. So if that occurs, then the museum could open then in the next fiscal year in 2021. If it doesn't, then we'll be assessing based on the revenue receipts that we get from the transient guest tax, whether or not we'll be able to open that in-house or not. A reminder, just by happenstance, we have a lot of vacancies at the museum as we had some people transitioned into some other positions. So if we have to gear up to run that ourselves again, it's going to take a little bit of time to get people in place. Okay, scroll back up a little bit, Morris. What did we miss here? Okay, so the museum services assistant, that's another position that is presently still filled and is currently budgeted for in the museum. That position, we are going to transfer that over to Parks and Recreation sales tax as well. That person has been working within the recreation division really since the pandemic started, and we have been coding that person's payroll time as COVID related, and we'll be submitting for reimbursement back to the transient guest tax as a result of that work. Essentially, she has been filling in, helping with temperature checks and other COVID-related processes at our recreation centers. We have had quite a few vacancies in our center attendance in the recreation sites. We had a pretty good handful of folks that just didn't return after we were closed. again, all COVID related. They just didn't want to be in that environment, understandably so. So we're pretty short, and this person has been helping us basically in facility support um, uh, during this whole pandemic scenario as we reopened. So we're going to keep that position over there and pay out of the transient guest tax, or out of the Parks and Recreation sales tax for that person. So we're going to be transferring that person over to that division, taking that cost out of the transient guest tax. Okay, scroll it up, Morris. Okay, so the proposal that we're putting together shows the reopening plan for the historic sites as follows. So the Bingham, CNA, all of our sites reopening in the spring as they normally would in 2021, with the exception of the museum, of course, which we just talked about. But we're also looking at a reduced operating schedule for public walk-in tours. So Frank did some analyzing for us, and it appears that our visits are mostly Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Very low patron turnstile rates on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. So we are only going to staff and open those buildings or those sites Friday through Monday, and we will be open Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday by appointment only. So if there's a group that's coming into town, we will certainly open those sites and service those and get someone over there to lead the tours, etc. But they're not going to be open for just walk-in on those days. So that saves a little bit of staff time for sure. So that is, in quick summary form, that is the proposal that we have going forward. And again, that what we just talked about there gets us within $57,000 projected. So again, in January, we'll look at it again, see if we need to make further adjustments. So that's the proposal, Sam. So questions?
Okay. Thank you very much, Eric. Any questions?
So basically the scheduling, the reduced schedule and whatnot is because of staffing? Would you say that's mostly why we're reducing the scheduling?
Yeah, it's staffing and budget. We had in the budget, because the historic sites are also having an issue with staffing with volunteers. They have fewer and fewer volunteers. That was a trend for the last several years, but with COVID, it's even worse. We had in the budget some part-time center attendant, site attendant type of positions to go in and actually work those facilities as well. So we have to pull that back. So that really, the combination of staff shortages and budget to fund staff to go in and work those sites is the reason for the reduction.
And you had mentioned going to possibly going to contract for the museum. Is that because of cost as well? Is that
very much so? Yeah, that museum, that costs a little over $500,000 a year for the city to operate. We are anticipating that contract for that will be similar to what we have at the water park, where we have an operator come in and they run those operations, but we're also paying a management fee to do that. But even with that, the cost savings, it will be at least 50% of what the overall budget was for the museum operations if we were running itself. So we see the opportunity there for significant savings and still have the museum operated. And quite frankly, you know, the right outside group could probably do a little bit better than what the city was doing. They would be in line for more in the way of grant opportunities and special programs and things of that nature that the city doesn't qualify for. We would assume they would be a nonprofit organization. And they can also hopefully do a little bit more with volunteering and things of that nature than we have been able to accomplish at the museum. One particular group that we talked to thought essentially the front desk operations would be able to be handled mostly by volunteers. So we're playing that out and having some discussions, and we'll kind of see where we land.
Thanks.
You know, the trends, Eric, are those based on simply, hotel and Airbnb stays? Is that how you measure it from the 57% down? Now we're down to 37 or 32%, which is an improvement. But what's the measurement? How do you measure that? Is it hotel stays?
Yeah, it's revenue receipt as a result of those hotel stays. So we have two different metrics that we look at. One is straight up revenue collected, and the other is the STR reports, which gives you occupancy rates and things of that nature, and also the average daily rates. It judges those as well. And Christy, I'm not sure if we're ready to cover that later or not.
It came in yesterday. I mean, I've got the report, but I was going to try to put it in a more easy to read format than just.
We'll have that for next week, Sam.
Yeah.
But those are the two sources of data that we look at to trend that out. The most important is the revenue receipts. I mean, it's just
sure
that's what drives the engine.
Sure, and not to sound pessimistic at all, but it's hard to imagine that we'll be in a better position by January, given the sites are still closed. But I guess we have Cable Dahmer Arena receipts coming in and things like that. Events are still happening. How do you see any way that we can remain more than flat by January?
Yeah, I actually do, because well, and Christy can talk about this a little bit more, but the trend is beginning to improve on just general travel, and that is we are a stop along the way for a lot of different destinations. Even though our sites are not open, the hotels still are. The fact that the Chiefs have some folks in the stands is good. That's very positive. And as you say, the Cable Dahmer Arena will be kicking up in December. The Mavericks are going to have their season. So come December into January, I do see the potential for improvement there for sure.
Okay, super. And I had another quick question, not to slow us down too much, but on Morris, you mentioned about the historic sites. Wonder if we could scroll back to that page briefly. The budget part, the part of your report that had the historic sites budget line. And my question about it, yeah, perfect. 63 cost center, $240,000. Is the park sales tax prepared, for those costs, or will we have to, reduce the historic sites budget in any way?
No, we're taking the full 240, absorbing that into the Parks and Recreation sales tax for 1 year, and then we'll assess it as we go into next budget year to see what we can absorb. The Parks and Recreation sales tax is down, but very slightly, and we can afford to do that because we have deferred, not knowing what the trend for, say, a park sales tax was going to be. We have deferred all capital at this point and are just holding pat on that. So we did have a little bit of reserves left after doing that to cover that 240. So long term, there would be a negative impact. Short term, we're able to absorb that without reducing services on the Parks and Rec side or the tourism side.
Okay, super. And my last question has to do with that museum administrator. Is that a regular city employee that's been kind of detailed to do, site visits to make sure that, HVAC is working, no leaks and things like that?
Yes, that is Mr. Burrow.
Okay, great. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Eric, for that. And if there isn't anything else on the budget update, we can move on to marketing and promotions. Christy, please.
Okay. I got an update late last night from Kim with Madden as far as what we look like for the last 6 months, because we are getting ready to put our report together for City Council. So I asked for some great information from them. She sent over, I really wanted an executive summary. So she did send that along with some more information for next week's tourism full commission meeting. We can share that once I've kind of gone through this. In April, we paused our media and our marketing due to COVID. It really wasn't a good time to be spending marketing dollars when people were not traveling. And so we paused our media. We canceled our contract with the Royals for 2020. Just couldn't justify spending that amount of money with no fans in the stands. So we did cancel that. We're part of National Tourism Week. We created a COVID recovery video. We deployed outdoor campaigns. We had planned on baseball campaigns, but we deployed outdoor campaigns just because people could still come to town and experience, our parks, and they could still go to the sites and et cetera. And because we had the tourism app that we developed a couple of years ago, people were still able to come and experience the historic sites, even if they weren't allowed, able to go inside. So it gave people still a good experience. They learned some things while they were there. So that was positive. We developed a press kit because we were starting to get requests for press kits, and the city hadn't ever had one. And so we worked, Jack McNulty, our multimedia communications coordinator, and Madden worked on getting that together. So that was really good. We set up a YouTube account. So during the COVID recovery, with some of the funds that we got from the state, we were able to create some videos that we were able to put on our YouTube account. And so up until then, there was just a main city YouTube account. So now there is also one for tourism. We've created a map for the visitor guide. This year, we were able to start production and planning not production, for the 2021 visitor guide when we should have, which was in June. So we weren't shuffling around at the last minute to get something out. I will say, however, ad sales are down almost half, just because, of COVID, and people that are normally able to participate with purchasing ads for the visitor guide aren't able to at this time. So we're kind of working on what the visitor guide is going to look like. We don't want to make it a lot different, so there just might be some more of our revenue that goes into producing those. So we're going to see how the ad sales finish up. Let's see. We had a presentation with the new agency of record for the Missouri Division of Tourism, gave them kind of an overview of Independence and the things we have in normal time where people would be able to come and visit, just because they weren't super familiar with us. And the one thing they were most interested about was the Hair Museum, which I thought was really kind of funny. So we'll be excited for all of our sites to include not just city-owned sites to open. We've created new landing pages on Visit Independence for football, historic homes, a paranormal path, and eventually for baseball. The paranormal path was something that we've been working on for a while, but we were able to get a video team to come in and shoot some videos, and I think sent some of those videos out. If not, we'll definitely send them out. But if you want to find them, they're on the Visit Independence page, / paranormal path. But they are really good. I know the first time I watched them, I was kind of scared. So on some of them, because we've been to those sites and they were great. Everyone knows that we were able to secure some funds from the Show Me Strong recovery program for DMOs from the state of Missouri. The first round, there was 2 rounds. The original round, they were going to distribute, they got $15 million. And so of that, the first round, we got $55,998. And so we were running with that. We had a good plan together. And then the state came back and said that all of those $15 million had not been allocated. And so we were eligible to reapply. And so we figured, why not? We didn't want to be super greedy. They had $2 million left. I didn't want to be really greedy and apply for all of it, even though I really wanted to. But we applied for $1 million and got that. So we have been doing nothing but getting advertising, marketing. We had a grid, we had a plan, but just executing that, getting ads approved by the division before we could start running them. But we have been able to do advertising on platforms that we've never been able to before, because simply we didn't have the money to do it. So if you are on Pandora, if you are on YouTube, if you are on Hulu, there's a bunch of different platforms that we are able to showcase independence. We had some mid-rolls for some podcasts, and so there's one with Megan and Will, which is a really popular one. So we had some mid-rolls on that. And then Rob Lowe did a really funny one, and so they were great. So we have some of those that we can share as well. But we have just been, yeah.
So let's work this next week on figuring out how to include the audio as part of the
Zach is
video.
really good. He can show me how to do it. I've got all of them here, but I'll be able to pop them up and show them. I'll just have Zach make sure that I know how to do it.
Yeah, it'll take a little bit of time during next meeting, Sam, but I really would like people on the commission to see the product of that work, because it really is a step above what we have ever done, and quite frankly, where we need to be, and that's going to be part of the challenge next year. How do we maintain that level with the budget that we have? So,
Will they be ready to show next week? Is that what you're saying, Eric, or is that too soon?
Yes.
Next week?
Oh,
Yeah.
no, we'll have a ball.
Terrific.
And
Yeah, they'll
we
be
have
ready.
all of them available.
Well, I saw a preview of the paranormal one, Christy. I thought it was wonderful. Really very chilling, but inviting at the same time.
Absolutely. And I know that we have the ghost hunters from A&E are coming to the Vale and the Bingham the first weekend of December. And those events, all the events that we're doing as part of that paranormal path, they are all following the county and state city guidelines as far as COVID. We've kept the numbers small, to allow for social distancing. And so, but we've had a great response to those. And I think that we'll be able to continue doing those. So that'll provide a little bit of income for the societies and the boards that are running, that are operating the historic sites for us, that we have the operating agreements for, but they're able to generate some revenue for, just some little things that they're trying to do. So it's been a win-win as far as that goes.
Well, and I know a lot of things are already set and done, but for future promotions, I don't know. I'm sure you've been out into Inglewood, but they are doing so much. Just, I want to make sure it's on our radar.
Yes, it is. That is
all their efforts that are currently.
Yeah, the person that we are speaking to about joining the commission is from, it would represent that area for that exact reason.
Yep. You mentioned the visitor guide, Christy. Is that still on track for a January release?
January, first part of, like the first week of January, it will be delivered and we will be sending them out. I do know that for the visitor guide for last year, since there wasn't a lot of traveling, CTM has allowed us to take, because they have a lot of the visitor guides, instead of just stocking the regular areas, they've added some additional markets for us to display our visitor guides that we didn't have before. So for the 2020 visitor guides.
Great. Well, great. And I certainly wouldn't want to slow the process down at all, but would the commission, either the executive board or the full commission, have a chance to review it one quick last time before it goes out? I probably wouldn't have any opportunity to make any edits or comments. Maybe it wouldn't even be a useful process, but if we could, potentially comment, that'd be great.
Yes, the editorial, basically the editorial, the writing, etc., that was going into the visitor guides is what we sent out to the full commission about a month or so ago. And so we took all of the the suggestions and edits that were sent to us. Sam, yours are always the most insightful and the best, I would say, because you do a really good job of honing in on that. But all of those were sent to Madden to make the required changes. So the only thing that will be that y'all didn't get to see was just the layout, and we had to wait until the ad sales were finished to just get an idea of layout and pictures and things like that that we will use. I will say that through this whole COVID experience and getting some of these additional funds from the state, we have been able to get more photo and video assets for us to use. So we'll be able to use them now and later. And so those will be in the visitor guide, and we were able to get the much needed diversity that we've been looking for, that we've been asked for several years to include. And so we were able to get a lot of that. So that will be included in the 2021 visitor guide.
Wonderful. That sounds great. And the number of print copies, Christy, I assume that those numbers keep going down year to year. You know, the number of actual print, is that still the trend?
Yeah, I think in previous years, I don't remember the exact number, but last year we pared that number down. We'll probably produce the same amount this year, because I can tell you a normal month, we were getting maybe 30 to 35 requests for visitor guides. Just the month of October, which we are not finished yet, we've gotten 140 requests for visitor guides. So I think our marketing is working. People are interested. People are getting our visitor guides so they can plan their trips. So we will probably keep the number the same for that very reason. We probably will have to put some more additional funds in our mailing budget just because people are requesting these visitor guides, but I think it's a great thing.
Okay, super. Yeah, I heard an ad spot on the radio just a couple days ago, KCUR.
Yep, that is one of them. One of the things we've added.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, that's great. Anything else for us, Christy?
I don't think so. We'll get all this information together in a readable form and send them out for the full commission next week. And then we'll make sure that we have the audio and video that y'all can get an idea of what we've been doing.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thank you very much. Wendy, hello. Historic preservation update, please.
Hi. Yeah, obviously with the sites closed and with some of the budget constraints, we are doing fewer projects at the sites, but the basic maintenance is still occurring. And probably our biggest project that we're working on right now is the restoration and trail association. And we are moving forward with that with the hopes that we can get the project out to bid later this year, if not early next year. The biggest hurdle that we've had is negotiations with Union Pacific. And I think between the Parks, Recreation, and Tourism staff, as well as municipal services, we've been able to negotiate, hopefully to come to some sort of a compromise soon and be able to move that forward.
Okay. All right. Well, what's the gist of that holdup, Wendy?
Yeah, Union Pacific, anytime we come to any of their crossings, there are issues. And I think the biggest hurdle right now is bringing the trail across Pleasant on Pacific. And Morris may have a little more insight to that, but I believe our municipal services staff met with them this last week and worked on any issues that they had. They oftentimes ask for upgrades to be made, and those are often very costly. And that's obviously something we don't have in the budget for this project. So it's just a matter of making sure that they feel comfortable with any safety concerns and that we can still move forward with our project as proposed within the budget.
Okay. Any update on the time frame on that? Or are we still looking at sometime 2021 ideally, or what?
Yes, the project, is still a grant project, and we would need to have it completed within the grant period. We've already asked for an extension, so we intend to move forward as quickly as possible as soon as we get the bid packet out, which again will hopefully be later in 2020, and in a worst case scenario, very early in 2021.
Okay, super. Any questions for for Wendy, or anything else, Wendy, this morning?
No, that's all for me unless there are questions. We will definitely be promoting the project and make sure everyone's aware once the project's completed. We're pretty excited about this one.
But it is exciting, very exciting. Okay, well, thank you very much, Wendy. Moving on to reports in packet, social media activity. I don't know if we want to call out any of these specific things or not, but Christy, is that for you?
No, I think that's just a general for the, we'll send out the reports. You should have gotten those reports. And then since we finally got the STR for September, we will have that together to include in the packets for next week. So that's kind of we'll send those out in advance. And then if anybody has any questions for staff that represent those, that have submitted those reports, they can ask them during the meeting, at this meeting, or at the full commission meeting next week.
Okay, super. Great. Well, an agenda for next week, I don't want to jump ahead too far, but I have Tourism Commission membership, budget update, marketing and promotions. Anything else we want to add? Of course, historic preservation. Does that sound like a reasonable agenda?
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add to that, Sam.
Okay. It sounds good. I will say this morning I saw an article, well, I guess it's a couple days old now. I was on leave yesterday, so I'm a little behind, but there was an article in the Examiner about a cultural connection being developed between Sugar Creek and Independence and the city of Martin. I'm not sure I'm saying that right, in the northern part of Slovakia, a city of about 58,000 people. And it occurred to me, I didn't read, that there might be some real tourism potential there. Eric, do you know more about that?
Yeah, there will be eventually when it gets established. The city of Sugar Creek, of course, has the Slovakian Fest, and
Sure.
And they have been cultivating this relationship with that city, and are going to be formalizing that along with the City of Independence, and we're going to join in on that as well. So we will be sister cities to two different cities, one in Japan and one in Slovakia, obviously. Mm-hmm. And yeah, there should be, I don't know as far as the level of cultural exchange, if we will get to the point where, every other year or every 5 years or something like that, there is a delegation that goes back and forth. I'm not yet up on those details, whether or not they're going to that level. I would hope so. So it's early in its development stage, but it is officially approved and adopted by the council. So that will be developed. We're not quite sure yet where even the committee, the Sister City Committee, will be housed, right? So will it be in Parks, Recreation, and Tourism, or will it be some other department? We're not sure who's going to staff that yet. So a lot of details still to work out, for sure.
Sure.
I've been teasing the Mavericks that hopefully that comes to fruition and they can start tapping some of that hockey talent over there and bringing it over.
That's right. Get a little pipeline going there, right?
That's right. I see some potential there as well.
I like it. Yeah, it's got potential there for signage and advertising and even street sign, like we have the one with the Japanese sister city.
Absolutely.
And I guess I had a question about the bicentennial. If there's been any update about planning for the state bicentennial and the city's involvement in that? Is there any update on that from anybody?
I don't know if Christy's heard a little bit more.
I have not heard anything else from the state or the Humanities Council or any of that about meetings, or I have not heard anything more about it.
Yeah, I attended a meeting a couple of months ago on behalf of the Truman Presidential Library, but our involvement's only been sort of tangential too at this point. Yeah, sorry, Wendy, did you have something?
No, that's fine. The Attractions Coalition is pulling a calendar together, a calendar of events. But with Caitlin's leaving the Historical Society, I'm not sure if that's something Savannah is going to be asked to still continue to do. So I will keep you updated on that. But many of the members of the Attractions Coalition were interested in having activities throughout the year, starting with virtual activities at least through early summer, and then hoping for in-person activities again the remainder of the year. So they were intending to do some programs, including an art program at the Bingham, some puppetry arts programs, and some lectures.
Great, great. Would we be able to see that schedule, Wendy, or is it still too much in the planning stages, you know, to even just see what kind of a sketch of what the events looked like?
We have not had a meeting since Caitlin left, and so I will get with Savannah and see when the next meeting is, and go ahead and get you at least a tentative calendar.
Okay. All right, that sounds great. Well, thank you, Wendy. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it occurred to me, I never did ask for a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting. Can I do that now?
I'll motion.
Okay. Second? I will second. Does anyone have comments? Okay, hearing none, we will assume that motion has passed to approve the minutes of the last meeting of the Tourism Commission Executive Board. Okay, we've talked a little bit about an agenda for next week's full commission meeting, which will be on October 27 at 8:15. Am I correct? Okay. Okay, super. Well, is there anything else for the agenda next week, or anything else for the good of the order?
Do you mind giving us an update on Truman? I haven't heard open dates, anything like that.
Right. Thank you for mentioning that, Chris. Well, the update is still a little bit up in the air in terms of a date to reopen our museum. We're still looking at some kind of an opening in the late fall, and I mean late underscored. But at this point, we still don't have a firm date, I regret to say, but.
All right, thank you.
I'm sorry. You're welcome. As soon as I get news, and the news, you know, and I'll report next week on that too, if you all would like, for the full commission. And I'm meeting again later today, as a matter of fact, with the management team at the Truman Library. I might have an update then, but at this point, still don't have anything real solid. But late fall underscore late is still our guiding our guiding light on that. So thank you. All right. Well, thank you all very much for the meeting this morning. I guess I will call for to adjourn.
I'll motion to adjourn.
All right. And I will second it. Thank you all very much. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.